As Mama Nkechi's cries pierced the stillness of the night, the neighbors gathered cautiously at a distance, whispering in hushed tones. They knew something dark had befallen her household, but no one dared to approach. Little did they know the tragedy unfolding was just the beginning, a grim tale of betrayal, jealousy, and the unforgiving wrath of ancestral spirits. Ijeoma Nwafor, a 25-year-old woman from a quiet village in Enugu State, Nigeria, had known pain and responsibility all her life. Losing her mother at the tender age of 6 left a void she never quite filled. Her father, a small-time farmer with rough palms and a heart burdened by survival, struggled to raise her and her 3 younger siblings alone. Ijeoma, being the first child, became a second mother by default. She learned early how to fetch water, cook for her siblings, wash clothes by the river, and stretch every morsel of food. Her father's income was barely enough to sustain their modest existence, and though he managed to see her through secondary school, there was no hope of further education. At 16, Ijeoma began hustling, cleaning homes, selling fruits by the roadside, and eventually doing things she once thought were beneath her. At night, she would lie awake under their leaky zinc roof, thinking of a better life. She made silent promises to her mother's memory to care for her siblings and raise them well. It was love and desperation that drove her to do everything she did, even follow men for the sake of her family's survival. During one dusty December, city girls from Lagos returned to the village in shiny cars and glittering clothes. They strutted through the village square like queens, their perfume leaving trails of wonder. They whispered stories of city life, how men paid in dollars, how a single weekend could feed a family for months. Ijeoma listened with wide eyes and quiet hunger. One girl in particular, Amara, was generous enough to give Ijeoma her address in Lagos and offer to house her temporarily. With a heart full of dreams and a small Ghana must-go bag in hand, Ijeoma left her village for the first time. Lagos welcomed her like a thunderstorm, chaotic, noisy, fast. She stayed with Amara in a cramped one-room apartment shared with 2 other girls. Ijeoma was beautiful, with radiant skin and a shapely figure that turned heads. She quickly learned how to dress, walk, and talk like a Lagos babe. Men noticed her, and before long, they were offering her money, phones, and clothes. Ijeoma didn't love them. Most nights left her feeling emptier, but she endured it. Within 6 months, she had saved enough to rent her own tiny room in a yard compound filled with tenants of all types, from mechanics to traders and fellow hustlers like her. In that same compound lived Mama Nkechi, a wide-hipped, sharp-tongued woman with 9 children and a small kiosk in front of their yard. She sold everything from cigarettes to sachet water, and her kiosk was always surrounded by noise. Ijeoma often bought noodles, matches, or sanitary pads from her, and over time, their casual exchanges grew warm. Mama Nkechi reminded Ijeoma of the mother she never had. She would offer unsolicited advice, share gossip from the compound, and even save snacks for Ijeoma's late-night cravings. Ijeoma began spending more time at her kiosk, sometimes sitting for hours, chatting or helping arrange goods. She shared pieces of her life, her struggles, the men, her dreams. Mama Nkechi listened with eyes that never missed a thing. She would occasionally suggest better ways of getting money or rich men who don't stress you, but Ijeoma brushed them off. She gave Mama Nkechi and her children small gifts, leftovers from restaurant dinners, used clothes from men she dated. She didn't mind. She believed she had found a second mother in Lagos. It wasn't long before Ijeoma met Chibuzo, a well-groomed, decent Igbo boy who lived in the next compound. Unlike the men she had known, Chibuzo had values, ambition, and gentleness that caught her off guard. He worked in a logistics company and was the kind of man who opened doors and paid attention. Their first meeting happened when Ijeoma accidentally dropped her groceries and he helped her pick them up. A spark lit between them, and from that day they grew close. He wasn't wealthy, but he was sincere. For the first time in a long while, Ijeoma felt something real. She slowly began detaching herself from her previous lifestyle. The money wasn't as good, but her heart felt lighter. She would confide in Mama Nkechi about her fears, how she didn't feel worthy of a man like Chibuzo. Mama Nkechi would listen, nodding, offering advice that sounded supportive, at least on the surface. Their love blossomed. Chibuzo proposed to her with a modest silver ring, promising a future of peace, if not wealth. Ijeoma said yes, teary-eyed. She imagined a new life, one where she wouldn't need to lie or sell herself anymore. Her siblings could finally visit her with pride. But behind her joy, Mama Nkechi watched closely. She kept asking Ijeoma detailed questions. When Chibuzo would visit, what he would like to eat, how much he earned. Ijeoma didn't think much of it. She trusted her. Then one day, Chibuzo traveled to Onitsha for work. That's when Mama Nkechi struck. She told Ijeoma that men in Lagos were slippery, that love wasn't enough. If she truly wanted to keep Chibuzo, she had to tie him spiritually. She claimed to know a Babalawo, a native doctor who specialized in such cases. Ijeoma was horrified at the idea. She loved Chibuzo. She didn't want to manipulate him. But Mama Nkechi insisted. "You think Lagos love lasts?" she said. "Secure your place or another girl go take her." Ijeoma, after days of hesitation, finally agreed. The shrine was deep in Mushin, hidden behind rusted zinc sheets and foul-smelling alleys. The Babalawo was an old man with milky eyes and a room filled with feathers, bones and incense. Ijeoma handed over a photo of Chibuzo, which she had snuck from his bag. The ritual was simple, she was told. A powdery substance was given to her, meant to be mixed into his food when he returned. It would bind his spirit to hers forever. Ijeoma left the shrine uneasy. She hated herself for what she was doing, but fear gnawed at her. She couldn't bear to lose Chibuzo. When he returned from his trip, she made him a warm bowl of jollof rice, ready to carry out the plan. But he never showed up that night. The next day, he called her, sounding cold and distant, saying he needed to see her urgently. When Chibuzo finally came, he wasn't alone. Mama Nkechi was there, seated calmly with her daughter Nkechi, her eldest. What followed shattered Ijeoma's world. Mama Nkechi claimed to be protecting Chibuzo from Ijeoma's wickedness. She told him about the shrine, about the ritual, and how Ijeoma intended to poison him. Chibuzo looked at Ijeoma with horror, but it got worse. Mama Nkechi pulled out her phone and played a secretly recorded video of Ijeoma in the Babalawo shrine, clutching Chibuzo's photo. Ijeoma screamed in shock and betrayal. She had been settled. Mama Nkechi had planned everything. She never wanted Ijeoma to be with Chibuzo. She wanted him for her own daughter, Nkechi, who had quietly admired him for months. Chibuzo stormed out. The engagement was over. Ijeoma was left with shame, rage, and heartbreak. She packed her things the same night and left Lagos. Her heart was too broken to stay. She returned to the village, to her father's hut, where the familiar scent of red soil and firewood greeted her. Her siblings ran to her, confused by her tears. She told her father everything, sparing no detail. The old man, quiet and deep-eyed, listened and said nothing for hours. Finally, he rose and entered a small hut beside their home, a place he hadn't opened in years. Unbeknownst to many, Ijeoma's father was a practicing dibia, a witch doctor. Though he had long abandoned the path, but his daughter's tears brought him back. That night, under the full moon, he performed a ritual of vengeance. He called on the spirits of the land, ancestors long buried, and unleashed a curse with fire, blood, and sacred words. One by one, Mama Nkechi's children began to fall mysteriously ill. It started subtly, complaints of headaches and feverish symptoms that seemed harmless at first. Mama Nkechi, always quick to dismiss problems, initially blamed it on the change in weather or the usual stress from school. But the illness persisted, and soon the children began to lose their memories. Nkechi, her eldest daughter, was the first to show more worrying signs. She started forgetting simple things, like how to cook meals she had made countless times before. During one of her errands, Nkechi couldn't remember the way to the market, a route she had known since she was a child. Other children began to follow suit, mixing up their lessons at school, forgetting their friend's name, and even struggling to recognize their own siblings. It was as if a shadow was slowly consuming their minds. Mama Nkechi became frantic, running from one herbalist to another, desperately seeking a cure. Each healer told her the same thing. Her children were suffering from a curse, one so deeply rooted that no ordinary medicine could reverse it. When the fevers intensified, Mama Nkechi's youngest, barely 2 years old, was the first to succumb. He died quietly in his sleep, his small body unnaturally cold. Grief struck Mama Nkechi like a hammer. As days passed, her remaining children fell one after the other. One choking unexpectedly while eating, another collapsing while playing in the yard. Nkechi herself, once vibrant and sharp, wasted away, her body shrinking from the endless fevers, until one morning Mama Nkechi found her lifeless on the mat, her face pale and eyes wide open. As Mama Nkechi mourned, something strange began to happen to her. Her mouth, once quick to gossip and deceive, started to twist painfully. At first, it was a slight slant, but as days went by, it bent more and more until her face looked monstrous. The compound residents whispered that it was the weight of her sins deforming her. One evening, as Mama Nkechi sat outside, disheveled and clutching the faded photograph of Nkechi, Chibuzo appeared at the yard entrance. He had heard of the tragedy and came to pay his respects. But seeing Mama Nkechi's grotesque face, he recoiled in shock. Desperate and overwhelmed, Mama Nkechi beckoned him closer, her voice shaking. "Chibuzo, forgive me. I did something terrible," she sobbed, tears streaming down her distorted face. Chibuzo hesitated, but moved closer, his expression cold and cautious. "It was me. I lied to you. Ijeoma never meant to harm you. I was jealous. I wanted you for my daughter. I set her up. The Babalawo. It was my idea. I convinced Ijeoma." Chibuzo's face hardened as the truth settled in. You ruined Ijeoma's life? Just for your selfishness?" He spat out, his voice trembling with anger. Mama Nkechi tried to reach out, but Chibuzo pulled away. "Your greed killed your children, Mama Nkechi. You took away my happiness for nothing." He turned away, unable to look at her anymore, his heart heavy with regret for not trusting Ijeoma. Mama Nkechi continued wailing, begging for forgiveness, but it was too late. The curse had claimed her family, and guilt gnawed at her soul. That night, as the yard grew quiet, Mama Nkechi's body convulsed in pain, her twisted mouth finally locking in a grotesque, permanent grimace. The following morning, the compound awoke to find her lifeless body sprawled near the kiosk, her mouth still curled in a painful, accusing twist. The residents whispered that it was a punishment from the spirits. A mother who betrayed trust and destroyed innocence had faced the ultimate consequence. As word spread, Chibuzo was left to grapple with his own guilt, haunted by the love he lost and the life that could have been if only he had believed Ijeoma. The story of Mama Nkechi became a warning across the neighborhood of betrayal, jealousy, and the power of karma. As for Ijeoma, she remained in the village for a while, helping her father farm, slowly healing. Her heart would never forget what Lagos took from her. But she also knew this: the spirits that watched over her mother had not forgotten her either. The moral of the story: betrayal may flourish for a moment, but truth and justice will always find their way back, often with a heavy price. Thanks for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content like this. Please do drop a comment if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted. Bye.